All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to our Saturday discussion. And each Saturday we will have a session of about 90 minutes to go over the lectures and the material that are introduced in the June cohort of the Certificate in Happiness Studies program. Thank you so much for joining us today. And the reason that we are having this discussion is because we didn't have an opportunity to go over this material when we were taking the MA in Happiness Studies, and I thought there was no better way to revisiting these material and discuss them now that we are graduated. And today, we are going to discuss a very, very important topic, you know, and this is the opportunity for us to exercise the 3 R's of change, and those are reminder, repetition, and ritual. This is also a great opportunity for us to exercise the spiral theory of knowledge, where we keep revisiting the material, the information that we know, and each time that we do this, we will understand this at a much deeper level. So feel free to join us every Saturday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope to hear more from your perspective as well. So once again, thank you for joining us, and let's get to it. All right. So for week 6 of the Certificate in Happiness Study program, we going to introduce the second spiritual principle, which states that the ordinary is elevated to the extraordinary through mindful presence. And for those who are not familiar with the SPIRE model of Dr. Taban Shahar and the 12th principle, I would like to introduce it very quickly. So in happiness study, we define happiness as whole being, which is um, cultivating the 5 area in the SPIRE model, which are spiritual well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, relational well-being, and emotional well-being. And by doing that, we cultivate happiness as whole being. Therefore, the whole being element is kind of like a hidden 6 element. So each of these 6 elements have 2 principles. Therefore, we have 12 principles, and today we are going to discuss the first part of the second spiritual principle. And as you might have already know, it is all about mindful presence. All right. So let's get to 6.1. All right. So even though I am following the structure of the 4-part lecture of each week that Tao presented in the program, feel free to share related material or your thought on this topic. And in the certificate program, beside the 4-part lectures, we also get reading material and then movie book recommendation from Dr. Tab and Shahar. And if you have your thought and perspective on this, feel free to share with us. Now, 6.1 is very, very special to me because the title of 6.1 is the enlightened moments, right? And in the beginning of the lecture, Tao remind us that spirituality is not confined just to religion, but it can be integrated into daily life by finding a sense of purpose. So a purpose in life is extremely important for us to have a higher sense of being. And in the past 2 weeks, when we discussed the first principle, we came to a realization that, you know what, purpose is very, very important because one purpose will lead to another. And by having hope and purpose, eventually we will get to the journey toward happiness as they are intended to be. And therefore, a purposeful life is indeed the spiritual life. And we should strive to have a purposeful life. And if you missed out our discussion, you can also find the recording on our YouTube channel. All right. So mindfulness, what is mindfulness and what are the mindfulness principle? So mindfulness is a way of living in the present, right? Live in the present moment. And the expert tells us that by doing that, we can elevate ordinary experience to extraordinary by recognizing their inherent value. So when I look at this statement, it instantly remind me the example that Tao gave about the relationship between the bee and the flowers, right? Because if we can truly live in the present, we can pay attention to every moment around us, and we can see meaning beyond what the surface level might look like. So the relationship between the bee and the flower is that the bee can reach its highest level of purpose, highest level of happiness by getting that honey, right, from the flowers. And when it does that, the flower is also reaching a fulfillment of its being by uh, give by having the pollen carried by the bee, and that is a very important purpose in the flower's life. So the moment that the two give to each other can help both reach the highest purpose of their being. And what I learned from that is that happiness is similar in that sense, where we give we give the best things that we have to everyone around us. And in that sense, we will get help back to carrying out what is most meaningful to us. And just by looking at a small example like that in nature, we can have a sense of how the universe works and how we can spread happiness, how we can give, because giving is receiving. Now, the enlightened moment for me is the moment where we comes to the realization that there are extraordinary things happening all around us. And that can be achieved by mindfulness, right? So mindfulness is defined as simply being aware of the present moment, whether it is the breath, the physical sensation, objects, or activity.
Thank you very much.
And even though
Excellent.
it might sound very, very simple, but have you ever really wondered what the present moment is truly is like, right? So most people are familiar with time or time space as a straight line, as having the past, the present, and the future. So do you think if the definition of mindfulness is stating about the present moment as in what we are experiencing right now, it is the present moment? And I'm very grateful to my classmate Marianne in the first ever MA in happiness study, because we have a breakout during I think this lecture here was some other lecture. But during that breakout room, she told me something very, very profound. She said that the present moment, like to really live in the present moment, it is it is very much different compared to the the moment that we are interacting right now. Okay. So you might be hearing me speaking, you might listen to your screen right now, and this might give you the perception of present, but in reality, that is not the present, right? Because information had to come to your ear, has to come to your eyes, and then the brain has to analyze the information, make sense of it, and give you the idea of sound, give you the idea of sight. So the information that you are receiving right now as I am speaking, that is not the present moment. That is actually a couple of moments prior to the real present. And understanding that mindfulness is the awareness of the actual present moment where the past, the present, and the future might be existing at the same time. Right. And this is a concept that is very, very special because often each of us, we tend to worry about the future or having regret of the past. Right. And because of that, we don't really get to enjoy the present moment. We often our mind often wandering around with many, many thoughts. So by living in the actual present moment, we can experience everything around us in a more profound way. And the way to experience in this, as we will learn toward the end of the 6.1 lecture, is the exercises that can give us the opportunity to live mindfully, practicing mindfulness, and the uh, the pathway to have that present moment. All right. So there are many, many research studies that have been done related
Chứ còn
to
ông làm ở
living
đâu?
in the
Ông nói
moment.
là ông chuyên làm.
But the important one that I want to relate in this to everyone is a research study called, or the book that has been written on it. It's called The Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. So in the book Flow, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi uh, was doing research on peak performance, and what he did is that he 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 went around and he done interview on top performer on peak performance, and what he realized uh, through all of these interviews is that there is the common experience in from different people from different fields. For example, a basketball player, when they are in this state of flow, they they times and space tend to be irrelevant, as in maybe 30 minutes or an hour, minute or hours have passed without they even aware of it. And when they are at that state, they perform best. And we will get to learn more about this in the next couple of weeks. Similarly, imagine like a singer, right? They can get on the stage and they can perform beautifully. They didn't have to think about the next word that they would have to say or would have to sing. And that to me is really living in the present moment by not only just focusing on the task at hand, but immersed in the moment where the mind and body are one. So enlightenment moment and mindfulness, living in the present moment is very, very powerful. And I would love to hear from you on this topic. Have you ever done any breathing exercise, any mindfulness exercises where you have the experience where you truly live in the present and immerse in the experience? Or like, what do you think about mindfulness? And that will definitely help open up to greater discussion that we are going to dive in. Right. So, anybody would like to share when it's come to mindfulness and enlightened moment? All right. I see Jasmine raise your hand. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. Uh, I have had I had an experience with mindfulness meditation a few times before I actually learned in the MA program, and I feel like I had different experience when I was learning outside and then in the program because I now have like I know what I should do. And then sometimes I feel like I don't want to practice it because at some point in my life I was like I am done with my meditation and mindfulness meditation, or like listening to mindfulness music. But then because I have to do the homework, and so I have to like listening to all the video that the MA in happiness study suggests, how suggest, and I found it really helped actually. And at some of the video I did not feel connected with, but other video I feel like it's it's kind of like open my uh it's not like open my eye, but I remember at that time when I have to do the homework, I have something going on in my head, and when the music play, all of the worry, all of the tension in my head disappear, as if it's like it was gone. Like I had no more worry, and I suddenly I feel touched. Suddenly I feel like this is really meant to be for me. And at that point, I feel like I should, like maybe not stop myself um, from like listening to all this mindfulness music, and also like doing like mindfulness practice. Just because I study a lot in the past doesn't mean that I don't need it anymore. So therefore, um, I actually got so inspired, and so I did recording like my own meditation um like video to share it with my friends, and they got very inspired too. So they asked me if they can share my video to other friends as well, and I feel like it was some spark right there. But I stopped doing the meditation and like making meditation video after finishing the homework, and after a few weeks later I stopped making video. But at that moment I feel like meditation music and meditation itself really helped me to focus, and it inspired me, and I got to inspire other people to do it. That was my experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks for sharing your experience of mindfulness and that micro enlightened moment. And it is as simple as that, pretty much everyone. So by living in the present, we uh, we distance ourselves away from our worriness, right? the worries of the future or the regret of the past. So living in the moment, the present moment, can instantly uh, help us with that. We can clear our mind. We don't have to worry too much. We can truly live in the moment and pay attention to one or two or just a few things that is surrounding us in our present. And mindfulness can do that. Just like the water, right? When the water is still, the dust will settle and the water is clearer. So mindfulness can do that. Just like when everything is quiet down and you can hear your inner voice better. And there are many benefit. There are many research that have done on this and show the benefit of meditation and mindfulness. And some even argue that living in the moment, being mindful, can help you reach that enlightenment moment. So in 6.1, we've learned that enlightenment is not a permanent state, but consists of moment of present and openness, right? And by living in the present and having present moment awareness, this can help reduce negativity and promote mental well-being, as living in the past can lead to depression, right? And living in the future can cause anxiety. So by practicing mindfulness, by living in the present, we can eliminate depression, we can eliminate anxiety. Super powerful, especially us living in the modern Western world where we have to worry about work and then putting food on the table, taking care of bills, and catching up to that next sport game that we are following, right? There's a lot of moving part, especially now that we have social media and information kept pouring in, and we might get overloaded by topics or events that doesn't even have anything to do with our life. So practicing mindfulness can can save us in the sense that we can reduce negativity and promotes a lot of mental well-being. Super important. And L typed in the chat saying that I used to suffer from antibiotic resistant sinus and otitis media. Through meditation and connecting with my body, I was able to direct energy in my sinuses and throat, and I have seen recover. Congratulations. That is another area of mindfulness that is still being researched, even though there are many research done on those. And you might be familiar with the what is it called? Is the well, it was there, but I certainly I couldn't remember the name of it. It's actually it is a placebo effect, something along that line. Uh, it's stated that like how like the mind can overcome the experience of the body. So by having a healthy thought and belief, you can actually push your mind body connection for the favorable outcome. So the placebo effect mentioned that of how in World War II, I believe, there was a case of a soldier who given the sugar pill because they just didn't have enough medication for all the wounded, but the wounded soldier who given the sugar pill reported positive uh, change in their condition. And since then, medication has to go to rigorous research to make sure that they do what they supposed to. And that to tell us the power of mind-body connection. Words truly create world. And there is there are a lot of benefit that you will learn in 6.1. For example, mindful meditation can help and show result through neuroplasticity, right? Mindfulness meditation contains the brain structure, promoting well-being and positive emotion by increasing neural activation in the prefrontal cortex. And also, we will get to learn neuroplasticity in the next couple of weeks. But just a quick introduction on that while we are on this topic. So neuroplasticity is a research study done, and the researchers found out that our brain is actually continuing to develop as we are learning, right? So unlike our height, for example, we stop growing after certain years in our life. Brain is different. Like prior to the research, people thought it was the case that the brain doesn't like stop growing pretty much at a certain age. But after neuroplasticity, we learned that the brain continue to grow even when you are in your 70, 80s, or even 90. If you continuing learning, the brain will change. And this has proven in MRI scan, and it is proven by research done on people who happen to be in, let's say, a car accident or in a sport accident where some part of their brain was damaged, but through physical training, um, they were able to heal over time, and the brain was able to build that connection, and they was able to function before. So mindfulness meditation can can influence the brain structure, promote well-being, and there are many other benefits that has been proven by researchers. For example, there are research show that mindfulness practice can reduce anxiety, improve mood, and even enhance immune system. And in the lecture, we also get to learn the relationship between mindfulness and spiritual well-being, right? Because by being mindful, everyday activity can be sacred, increase spiritual well-being, and the choice that we are making at any moment bring us closer to our spirit. So that can help us understand the importance of mindfulness. So in 6.2, we also get to learn more in detail of form of mindfulness, and at the word stated, form of mindfulness is practicing mindfulness uh, consciously. And there are key guidelines for meditation that we get to learn. And the most important one is that we focusing on a single object, whether that is our breath or our emotion or our thought. If you are taking the certificate program, you will know that there are many different form of uh, mindfulness exercises. And the key here is to focus on one single object. It works this way because when we're focusing on just one object, it allows us to let go of other thought, other worry, other object that our mind might wandering to, right? So let's use breath, for example. I guess most people can relate to breathing exercise as a form of mindfulness. And I'm lucky enough to have practiced breathing exercise since I was 18 years old, my dad showed me like box breathing. I didn't know that was what it called back then, but it's is one of the very powerful breathing exercise. So imagine you are doing a breathing exercise, right? And you're focusing on your breath, breathing in, and then breathing out, and then breathing in, and breathing out, and all you're focusing on is just your breath. There are certain practice that a gong would would play for like 30 seconds or even like a minute. And there are reporting stating that, people who doing these exercise, after a while, they can no longer hear the gong. And that is the moment of enlightening, right? This is where you truly live in the present, where you no longer have to worry about the past, the uh, the future. You only live in the present, where you experience this state of flow, as some might put it, the real present moment. And mindfulness exercise or breathing exercise, from my experience, from my perspective, is exactly that. We resting on one single object, because doing that will, and I'm going to say this again, helping us letting go of many, many other objects, many, many other things that might cloud it on my. And of course, no one is perfect, right? We often, when I do my breathing exercise, I find myself sometimes my mind wandering around, worrying about the um the work that I need to do the day after, or the dinner that I have to prepare. And that is when we lose focus. So one of the key guidelines for meditation is returning to focus, with the realization that our mind start to wander further away from the object that we are focusing on, and realizing that we returning to focus to that one object. And the essence of meditation is catching the mind when it wanders and bringing it back to the object of focus. And again, it is important because the entire purpose is letting go of other things to focus in on one object. And eventually that one object is will be letting go as well. And that is when you reach a state of emptiness, some might put it, because there's nothing left to distract you when you are one with the universe, when you are one with reality. And that can also be defined as the enlightened moment, and the many gurus that I have talked to. So besides returning to your focus, it is important that we do a slow, deep, and gentle breathing, and that can promote relaxation, and it's break the cycle of stress and shallow breathing. And the fourth one, it is important that we have a non-judgmental attitude. We accept that there is no good or bad meditation. It's just meditation. It's just the exercise that can allow us to get to that state of mindfulness. Super, super important. And there are many, many benefits. And I would love to hear from you as well. Have you practiced any of the mindfulness? What have you experienced? And maybe you might even have a great story from your friends or others. They might have reported a great experience that they have during this exercise. I see Victoria raise her hand. Feel free to share, Victoria. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Ben. Thank you, Ben. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this, again, for this wonderful topic today, which is the enlightened moments. So I believe that everyone among us have experienced those enlightened moments. Sometimes we are not aware of it. Most of the time, we are not aware of this blissful and enlightened moments. So what are they, and how we can come back to those moments and create enlightenment moments again and again in our daily life is one of the object of my concerns. So I would like to quote Thầy Thích Nhất Hạnh, something that is very inspiring for me. He said that we are depressed if we are living in the past, and we are anxious if we are living in the future, and we are only peaceful if we are living in the present moment. So the thing is, we are constantly distracted, especially nowadays. We are living in the times of multimedia, overloaded information. So we are all bombarded by information through our sense. Like we see, we hear news, we have many distractions from the external world, and also we have many distractions from our inner world. Many voices that never stop speaking to us and do not let us to be peaceful. So that is our sad situation in these modern times. So that's why mindfulness is becoming increasingly important and popular nowadays. Everyone's talking about mindfulness, but not everyone understands what mindfulness is truly is. And there's so many definitions about mindfulness, meditation, and enlightenment. So I just would like to share from my limited perspective and understanding. For me, just like Thầy Thích Nhất Hạnh mentioned, mindfulness is present moment. First, we need to be stay in the present moment. We shouldn't be be controlled by our past or our busy plan for the future. Because if we wander back to the past about our glorious moment, then we feel very depressed. And also, if we think about our future, our busy plan, what should happen tomorrow, what might happen tomorrow, what might happen to us and our loved one, then we become very anxious. So we should be able to control our mind to just bring us back to the present moment. And one of the main methods to help us to bring us back to the present moment, everyone can do it, is come back being aware of our breath. That is a very, very first step of being aware. Whenever you feel not peaceful, the first and very simple step is just come back to your breathing, and then breathing in and out through our nostril, or following the movement of our tummy or our chest. Then it means that we are connected with our breath, because only when we are aware of our breath, then we are at the present moment. And it helps us to pacify all our distraction, all the unnecessary thoughts that make us cause anxiety and depression. That is the first step. And then also after that, when we are able to be aware of our breath, then we need to continue with our mindfulness. We need to remember an object that makes us peaceful. For example, if we are disturbed by an angry feeling, because I guess that everyone gets angry at times. So I think the best way to oppose our anger is to find our patience. We just need to be patient. And for example, if you get stuck in the traffic jam, for example, and people get, like yesterday, I had a very important meeting, and then I was stuck in a traffic jam. And I was aware that, oh my, I'm getting a little bit anxious and even angry, I must say, because it was so stuck and we are not moving at all. So fortunately, I remember my meditation and my teaching about mindfulness. I immediately come back to my breath and take a deep breath, and gently I was able to calm myself down. And then I connect with the patient thoughts. That means that, okay, I start with my rational thinking, okay, if I get angry now, I cannot get out of this traffic jam, I still need to be patient. And what happened next is I might be late. And sure, I will be late. But what's next? Then I need to accept this being late. It was not my fault. Partly, maybe it was my fault because I didn't allow much time to go to the appointment to be in time. But one of the things I didn't expect was the traffic jam as well. So that I thinking in that way, it helped me to calm me down and gently were able to smile. And then finally we came to the place and we were late, but I didn't feel any angry thought or I feel completely peaceful and happy and enjoy my meeting until late. So this is a very simple example to show that we are not able to control external circumstances, such as traffic jams, such as some people may insult us or blame us, or many difficulty coming from the external world. And we are not able to control them, not all the time. Sometimes we might control some very little amount of those events, but most of the external event we cannot. So what we can control is our mind, is our thought and our feelings. And how to come to that state is that we have to change our mind so that we become aware of our current state. If we are about to get angry, we need to be aware of that. And then how to, once we are aware of what's going on in our mind, then we need to be prepared and be able to master some technique that help us to overcome those obstructions, those mental obstructions, such as anger or envy, jealousy, or hatred, something like that, by cultivating our mind with the meaningful objects, and object that helps us to come back to be peaceful and to be happy again. Those objects such as love, such as patience, we need to cultivate. So for me, enlightened moments is possible. Everyone can experience enlightened moment. And this becomes something very important because nowadays we are constantly distracted. So we need to be able to come back to ourselves, to be able to come back to our breath, and to be able to control our negative thoughts, our disturbing emotion, so that they can calm down. Just imagine as we are an ocean. So sometimes the waves in ocean, there's always waves, especially in the windy days. So what we can enjoy waves, and then we also enjoy the depth of the ocean by being able to abide in the quiet and tranquility of the depth of the ocean. So, and we all are able to do this thing through training our mind, through training in mindfulness and meditation. So again, just a key point to remember is that mindfulness is come back to present moment. And in order to come back to present moment, we need to be able to change in our breath, come back, remember our breath. And then after that, when our mind is peaceful through breathing deeply, then we can think and remember the object. And that is mindfulness is working. Mindfulness is to remember and be able to hold one object, one single object, not many objects, only one single object at a time. And at the present moment, we continue to blend that object, that meaningful object, with our breath. So that help us to control all the other mental obstruction, all other unnecessary thoughts and feeling that disturb us and make us feel unpeaceful and unhappy. So that is the mindfulness training, and that is the way that help us to become enlightened person. So once we are able to control our mind all the time and able to abide in a blissful oceans of calm, of love, of compassion, of wisdom, that moment, those moments are enlightened moments that everyone human being can achieve. And that enlightenment also is the highest potential that human beings can achieve. So this topic is so wonderful, and I feel so grateful for Tan to make it clear in this section about enlightened movement, and just Ben sharing wonderful insight about the connection between body and mind, especially the structure and the flexibility of our brain, which reflect our inner world of how we can control our mind. So because when we can control our mind and we can channel our thought and our emotion, we will be able to shape our brain into a shape that is useful and that is beneficial for us. It's not something that is inborn, that something is born. That is something that we can learn and we can achieve. So everyone can do this. And also, I would like to come back to a comment that I find it very important here. I don't know, NL is from NL. I used to suffer from antibiotic resistant sinusitis and otitis media. Through meditation and connecting with my body, I was able to direct energy to my sinuses and thought, and I have since recovered. So it means, what it means here is sometimes we believe that we can medication or science or on the progress that we have achieved through science can help us to overcome our pain, physical pain, and even mental pain. But it's not true, because we still have a lot of disease we cannot cure with the medicine. And this example is very significant. So it means that our body has natural power to heal itself. The only problem from humans is we have neglected this inner and natural and superpower of our human being. So we forget it, and we tend to focus our energy towards the external and material progress, to the point that we completely forget about our inner treasury, a power of happiness and healing. So the thing is, just by simple breathing and meditation, and with a strong faith, and with wisdom and some positive mind, we will be able, just like the example mentioned, that they are able to cure something that the biotics or medicine cannot cure. And it's very cheap, very affordable. Everyone should change and should change and focus their energy into the inner workings of their mind, so that they can use the power of our mental power, so that it can help us in our daily life to overcome all our human problems. So that is my sharing. I really hope that you can give feedback and have many discussions, so that we can experience different people point of view. I really love the question that you guys mentioned here. And thank you again. Thank you, Ben and Jasmine, for holding this wonderful weekly discussion.
Thanks, Victoria. Victoria brought up many important points that I would love to spend more time on, because this topic is indeed very important, right? And I was gonna ask Victoria like a scenario and what's her thought on it, but she has already brought it up, and I want to mention a little bit on her experience getting stuck in traffic and how she might starting to get upset of the situation. And I want to tie that to mindfulness by living in the present, right? And so, as I mentioned earlier, the thing that we hear, the thing that we see right now, it might appear to you that that is the present moment, but a lot of time it is not, because it takes some time for our eyes to see, our ears to hear, and that information get processed to the brain. So you might think that you are listening to me right now, but that is already happening in the past. And often people get very upset or very angry in different situations, because they hold on to the past or they hold on to the present, right? Because it's accumulating, it's building up. So you might think, or you might be in a situation where you might feel very angry, but that is not the present moment. It is you holding on to the past, to many events, because all of us has experienced this. You can feel that the the anger building up, right? If we look into the other side of the coin, like happiness is kind of similar in that way, where we're holding on to a series of events that can help elevate, cultivate happiness. So living in the present is beyond happiness as physical well-being or happiness as pure pleasure, right? So being in the present, as Victoria mentioned earlier, is very, very powerful because you will be able to let go of your anger or your upset or your negative emotion at that moment, where you truly live in the moment, and eventually you will be able to let go of that experience. And then Victoria also brought up a very, very important point that I want to discuss further, and I really want to hear from everyone because this is so important. We are talking about enlightenment moment, right? It is something that people spend a lifetime to come to a realization. So there are many moments in our life that if we pay attention to, it will awaken the giant within, as some might put it. So my experience and the experience that I have heard from many, many practitioners is that we focusing on one object, and eventually that object will also be and let go of. And that is the moment where you truly live in the present. And from what I was told and from my own experience, even though this happened very quickly, but when you truly live in the present, when you reach that quiet place, that empty space, you build this very unique connection to the universe, to things that are beyond space time. And there are many, many reporting that people receiving, I guess, knowledge that they wasn't aware of, receive some form of truth of the universe around us. So it's kind of like the movie Matrix. If you can, I'm sure most people here would have watched the movie The Matrix. And in the movie The Matrix, Neo, when he woke up from the Matrix, he realized that it was all just an illusion, right? And when he woke up from it, he see the reality, the real world. And it's not necessary to be like that way and for our experience, but think about it. When you truly live in the present, when you letting go of your worry of the future and your regret of the past, when you truly, truly live in the present, you will start to see the truth. And this is what science, after finding the truth, finding the formula so that we can reach closer to the truth. And many people reported that when they are in this moment of mindfulness, when they are awakened or when they are reaching enlightenment, they are receiving this truth. And I think this is the real end goal here, the real benefit beside, being happier, less worry. And it's very, very powerful. So I would love to hear more from you guys on this because I think this is so, so important.
Yes, enlightenment. I love this topic so much because I it's one of my favorite things. So for me, I would like to share a story. I think many of you may have heard about this story, but every time we talk about enlightenment or mindfulness, is come back to me again and again. So one day there was somebody who was looking for enlightenment. So he went to a Zen master to ask him advice about how to attain enlightenment. So when he met the Zen master just um, invite him to have some tea. And then the master keep pouring the tea into the guest cup. And then it fill out the cup and the water coming out of the cup. And then the guest say that, okay, you should stop because it's enough already. So, but the master just told him that it is just like that. If you look for enlightenment and you keep trying to find knowledge and fill up your head with knowledge and things like that, then it's not possible. The lesson here is that we need to empty our mind. It's just like Ben mentioned that we always grasping at the thing that we have heard. We are hearing, we seeing things, and it stay in our mind. It stay and got stuck. And it's just like we build up inside ourselves a mental prison of opinion, of a belief that we believe that is the truth. And Ben also mentioned that there's people who get connected with the universal source of enlightenment. So somehow they can transcend ordinary belief and thinking and things that we build up and we listen and we learn and we take it as a truth. But it's not the truth. And the truth is always available to everyone, but not everyone is turning toward that. It's just like you always facing back to the truth. And it's very easy to receive enlightenment. It's just like in the story. We just need to let go. It's not like we get rid of all our need, our knowledge. It means that we just let them go and have a beginner mindset, which is like fresh, like we are not controlled by what we are learned in the past, and we are not controlled by some expectation or our assumption for the future. So if we can get rid of that and we have adopt a fresh mindset, and like a beginner, like a child who's playing, and then we can receive the universal thought, because the truth is everywhere in what we see, in what we hear, but we don't see that truth because we see things through the lens of what we have learned from our cultural, our educational and experience background. And those background are very limited. It's just like a prison that keep us in a box, and it doesn't help us to think out of the box. So the simple way is that we just let go. We don't grasp. We keep learning, but we don't grasp that this is true and that is not true. If we have the mind that discriminates what is this and that is that in our own way, then we can never achieve the truth. So the main thing is we need to let go. And in the teaching, Buddhist teaching that I learned, my teacher always teaches to let go of what we understand and believe that is the truth. Because whatever we see is mistaken. We just see like the rainbow. When I remember when I was young, I always thought that, okay, if I could touch the star, if I could touch the rainbow, if I could touch the cloud. And once I got in the airplane, I said, okay, I will, once I got into the airplane, then I will touch the cloud to see how the cloud, how the cloud feels on me. But it was completely mistaken. We just see it as real, as truly there. But there's not that one that we think it is. We need to let go of that and empty our mind in the sense that those things are illusionary. Whatever we see, we hear, everything in Vietnamese, we call it vọng tưởng, tức là vọng tưởng. In English, I believe they translated it as a delusion. Because of delusion, we always see somebody that we don't like as an enemy. And whenever they say something, because of this misconception already believe that, okay, this person is not nice to me, I don't like him. So that's why we already have some prejudice and some preconception about this person. But we forget one very important thing, that is everything is ever changing. The enemy today might become our friend tomorrow, and vice versa. So there's no one that is truly there that is fit into our preconception. So we need to let go of it, and we need to keep an open mind and beginner mind so that we can touch the thatness. And in Buddhism, we call the true is the thatness, that which is as it is, not as in the way we wish them to be. So once we can let go of our desire to one thing to be happen or to be in those way that we wish them to be, then we already open an important door to the truth, to the universal knowledge and wisdom and enlightenment. So I believe that everyone, that's why I feel that enlightened moment, everyone have experienced those moments. But the thing is, we don't know when we have it and how, what is it, and how to help us to connect to them again and again, because inside us always there's enlightened moment. There's only obstructed. It's just like blue sky. The sky is always blue. It's only obscure when the dark cloud coming and cover the blue sky. So we always identify our emotion, our thought with the cloud, and we forget our true nature of the blue sky. That is enlightenment. That is our enlightened moment, and that is also our true nature of human being that we forget and we neglect because of our misconception and mistaken awareness. So that's why we need to work on our mind, just like in the Zen story. Just take out upon the water of our grasping and assumption so that we become fresh, beginner, humble all the time. So we can touch the suchness, the darkness, the truth, and the universal wisdom and enlightenment.
Thanks, Victoria. Appreciate your sharing. That was beautiful. I also see Jinlin raise hand, and I want to make sure Jinlin have an opportunity to talk to. So feel free to share Jinlin, and we can discuss further in this. Thank you.
Is my voice okay?
Yes, I can hear it clearly.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Victoria, for the sharing and for being in mindfulness, especially about when Ben mentioned about that we are focusing, letting us to focusing in one certain thing and in one certain thing. So there is another perspective is letting other things go. And it just reminded me of especially on the time that I'm really anxious. And for example, there is an example that I can recall as I'm very afraid of earthquake. Yeah, I will get really nervous because I'm in Taiwan, and yeah, and in like many years ago, there is a big earthquake in the east side, and there is a building crashed. So there's like traumatized memories in me. So when each time that there is a longer earthquake, I will be very anxious, and sometimes, most of the time, I was like paralyzed. I cannot move, even though I know I should like be hiding somewhere. But when you were mentioning about that, we are letting ourselves to focus on something, like anchoring our attention on that, and that is the time that when I was like being in the earthquake, most of the time I was like I cannot remember anything. It's blank. But after practicing mindfulness for a certain time, there is a period of moment that if I can remember to use the practice during that anxiety, and it seems like it brings me back to the present moment, even though I'm not moving right away, but I can feel that, I can see that I was shocked and I was freezed by the anxiety. And I also noticed that, oh, there is a, I'm standing on the floor, or probably like I'm, if it's night, I'm lying on the bed. And so it's like I'm still able to connect where I am and what I'm doing at the moment. And I think it's quite important because if my attention is hijacked by the emotion, there's no memory when I was in that period of time. But when I can just going with the breath, and it can right away bring me to the present time. And then it seems like I letting go of things, but at the same time, it's like when I was opening how do you say, strongly hold it fist. When I open it, it's like letting go. Actually, there's a lot of things that was coming into my palm. Yeah, so I can feel the anxiety, and I can feel that my body is in tension, and there's things like that. So thank you for sharing, and also give us a reviewing on mindfulness and how these practice can be used. And it just remind me of um, that accident, and how it brings me to the present at the same time, even though I'm in still in like high emotion and still body is in tension. That with that technique, I can also feel myself, and all these things that also happen at the same time. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for sharing, Chilling. I just want to ask you very quickly about your experience. Were you in that building when the earthquake happened, or were you near there that can cause you traumatized, or were you just afraid of earthquake in general?
Oh, it's I have a relatives who are in that they live in that area,
Mm,
and most of the time it's like a after trauma, after the accident. I was like more, it's like a more reinforcement
mm,
on that. My thoughts, or probably a childhood believing that it's hard to get away, because now I'm living in a older building,
mm,
and so in a certain period of time there's no resistant test for when the buildings having built. There's no resistant test for the earthquake, so there's I'm more sensitive to these, and so it's like I will enlarge these worryings, and and right, and after that accident, that earthquake, I've heard my relative was in the crashed house, because it's not only a building. Actually, the whole area was like the small house, the small old house are fell down. Yeah, so after this experience is like enlarging me
mm.
those worries at the same time. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing your personal experience. I often say what is most personal is more general. And I have similar fear too, and many people have similar fear. This might not be about earthquake, but it's about other stuff. Like for me, for example, I might look like big and healthy. But let me tell you a secret. I'm afraid of blood, right? Even though my father is a doctor, and I could have like been a doctor too, but the fear of blood just stopped me. And when I was younger, the second that I see blood, I get fainted, and it was really bad. I got a little bit better now, but I think it is still there. And many people do have to kind of live with their fear. But if we can exercise mindfulness, if we can exercise our mind, right, then we will have a better chance of dealing with it. And I don't know if you have ever wondered where that fear come from. Then we might have to use a perspective that is beyond scientific understanding. And this might sound strange to other, but I believe that it can greatly be explained by the experiences that we have in the past, whether it is this life or many life before us. Because there's a theory that we have lived many lives, right? And certain event in, I guess, the previous life or many life before greatly influence our experience in this life. So everything happened for a reason. I think it's not a coincidence that I'm afraid of blood. It is not a coincidence that my older brother he he frightened by spider, like he hated spider, he couldn't stand them. And I think it is no coincidence that you have the fear of earthquake. So knowing that it is there, we can uh we can learn to let go of it. We can learn to let go of fear, and practicing mindfulness can help us do that. It can help us letting go of the bad experience, and it might not happen overnight, right? But with enough practice, with resilience, we will be able to master that. And it is okay if you still have that fear. We gotta give us permission to be human. At the same time, we can shift our attention, we can shift our mindset to to something more useful, right? So me, for example, I'm still afraid of blood, but I can make sense of it. I can borrow that connection to dive in deeper of the inner world, because it has got to have some meaning. And oftentimes is you can make it useful rather than hurtful. So often people who have those fear or those sense, they have that I would call spiritual connection or something even greater. So instead of seeing it as a problem, you can also shift your attention to it being something very special. And as far as psychology goes, this has proven that uh, when uh, when bad event happen, your mind can your mind protect you, or you protect yourself by blanking out. So it could be the case that something really bad happened related to the earthquake. Could have been in this lifetime when you was very young, but you didn't even remember, or it could be many lifetimes ago that a really bad natural disaster happened, and somehow you connect deeply to it. And I know it might sound strange, but there are many records from different culture and different places in the world recorded this. And I guess the most common story is the Great Flood that is reported in the Bible. And Happiness studied how also mentioned about the story of how many different regions in the world still mentioning and recording the event of the Great Floods. So again, instead of seeing it at something hurtful, it can be something very useful. And by exercising mindfulness, we can truly have these enlightened moments, and it is beautiful. I can guarantee you that it is not a coincidence that many people are working for this enlightenment moment. They dedicated their entire life to get closer to this enlightenment moment. And I love how Victoria mentioned earlier that all of us, we all have these enlightenment moments in our life. It's just we don't recognize that. It's like your fear, for example, that could have been one of the enlightenment moments, or daydreaming, right? When we escape space time, even the material that we see around us, at the very moment when we daydreaming, we kind of drift into a different space in our mind. And for me personally, the entirety of the field of psychology and happiness study is so necessary, because we get to learn about our mental state, namely in this lecture of formal mindfulness. We are doing ourselves a favor by exercising mental hygiene, right? Similar to physical hygiene, like we brush our teeth every day, we take shower every day. So imagine how dirty we could get if we don't take shower for, let's say, 1 week. What about a month? How about a years or many years? And that is exactly what happened to our mind, right? Without exercising mindfulness, we collecting all of these dust, all of this, all of these whatever that we are not even aware of. But through mental hygiene, through mindfulness, we can actually clean up ourselves of all of these layers that build up for many years. In fact, what if we have many lifetime, right? What if we never shower for many lifetime? Can you imagine that for mental hygiene? So this is how we stay clean. This is how we can get closer to that enlightenment moment. And I spend a lot of time discussing the 6.2 because it's greatly related to 6.3, which is my favorite, right? Victoria earlier, she mentioned that her favorite is the topic of mindfulness and enlightenment. Well, for me, informal mindfulness is amazing, because you can start out with formal mindfulness. You can start out with exercising, breathing exercise. But once you build that connection, once the pathway is there, you can also practice informal mindfulness, like walking meditation. You can be mindful at work. You can be mindful when you are with family. And you can be very calm. You can live in the moment, enjoying your activity, and you can be mindful at the same time. And people who can exercise this informal mindfulness, you can use an example. You can imagine the different activities. Let's say singing, right? That can be informal mindfulness. I sing karaoke, and when I really like the song, I experience this informal mindfulness, because at that moment I am one with the activity and I don't even have to think about it, right? Or what about painting? An artist who is painting doesn't have to worry about time, space, or he will be immersed in that experience. And she or he, the artist, can record something so beautiful, that is so meaningful in their painting. And there are a lot of value. What about a scientist, right? Maybe he is doing a research, like Newton, for example. He was just sitting down under an apple tree, and then an apple fell on his head, and he realized the law of gravity. Things like that happens all the time. And informal mindfulness is extremely powerful, because we can do that a lot more than simple sitting down and doing the formal breathing exercise. And I think both are important. But for me personally, right? For me personally, I uh I get a lot more value through informal mindfulness. And thanks to the lectures, I learned of this term. And if you want to share on this, I would love to hear that too. And yeah, it's pretty much beyond uh what I can put to word, but there is some very, very special moment when we are mindful. And I love it that Tao mentioned both formal and informal mindfulness. All right, Jasmine, feel free to unmute, and then Victoria after.
Yeah, thank you, Ben and everybody. So I love all the sharing today just because it helped us understand more about being mindfulness. And like to me, when I learn about being mindfulness, literally it it took me years to uh to master it, right? I feel like everybody needs to have the time to practice to be mindfulness and constantly have to remind ourselves to being more mindfulness in our daily life. So to me, if I think too much, that I'm drowsing in my thought, suddenly I remember to focus and pay attention in my presence, or pay attention to the one I'm next to at that moment, then all of the thought disappear just in a split second. And so when I'm like constantly remind myself to be mindfulness, I'm living in my present. And I feel like journaling or also um, like reframing our story, or also like making schedules for our daily life is also a way to inform um, ourselves to be more mindfulness. Let's say if I wake up early on a day, or if I cannot sleep at night, rather to think about what happened in my head, I can write down what I should focus for today. Um, and then when I write down what I should focus, and like schedule myself to do ABC thing, then then after that I can go to sleep so quickly and safe and sound. And so I feel like being mindfulness in like informal mindfulness and informal mindfulness is can be like making all the list for ourselves and reminding ourselves by having the note, thing like that. Like formal and informal. It's kind of like a mixture between two, because like you can make a random note for yourself, or you can make a serious long note for yourself and keep it where we can see it. So that is one of the practice we get a chance to do during the time we are in the MA in happiness program. And so when we have a note or a reminder, that is when our mindset, it's destination to do something first, or start looking for something first. And that is when we can easily achieve things that we want in this life. So, um, writing a note and making a schedule for ourselves is a way to be mindful as well. And yeah, thank you for allowing me to share this. Suddenly, I understand more why I have to make a note. After 18 months in the program, now I kind of understand why I should make a note to myself every day now. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. It's important to write down because of a moment of enlightenment or enlightenment moment. Because as Victoria mentioned earlier, we will get many, many moment of enlightenment. And it is important for us to write that down, to record it, because it have a deeper meaning. The universe or our inner self, it will tell us something. And when we record it, when we write it down, we can connect the dot later on. And to me, that is very, very important, as each and every one of us has our own mission that we meant to accomplish. So thanks for sharing. And Victoria, feel free to share, because we do have about 4 minutes left.
Yes, I love Jasmine's comment about reminder, because actually the nature of mindfulness is reminder. The nature of mindfulness is our ability to remember something that we have realized, something that is true, something that is beneficial for us. For example, I come back to NL's comment here in the box chat saying that her example about that she was at time occasion, on one occasion she felt like stressed at work, and then instead of reacting impulsively or getting caught up in negative thoughts, she paused, took a few deep breaths, and observed her thoughts and emotions without judgment. And in this mindful moment, she realized that she has the power to choose how to respond to the situation calmly and with clarity, rather than being controlled by stress, by her stressful feelings. So this summarize the benefit of our ability to remain calm and remind what is useful for us. And some people may write down, okay, here is what I need to remember and to practice. And one of the things we can practice is that we remember we have the choice. We have the choice to control our emotion or let them control us. So this very simple realization, but we forget all the time. And when we are in touch with that, with this true knowledge, then we can experience enlightened moments. So the way to remember it is, for some people they write down, they keep writing, like just means she put a reminder maybe whenever she in her room, on in front of her desk, or when she put on the clothes, or on a bracelet or whatever that we can pay attention closely to. But for me, I always put it in my mind. Like I try to do meditation daily. And the difference between formal meditation, which is topic number 6.2, and the informal mindfulness is the topic number 6.3, is that in formal mindfulness, we need to dedicate a special time for a formal meditation mindfulness practice. It means that we need to choose an object of our mindfulness and stay with this. And as I shared before, the first step is we need to pacify our distraction by coming back to our breath. And once we are quiet, our mind is quite still and calm, then we can focus, direct our attention on to the object of our choice. For example, for instance, is our ability or our choice over our emotion or let them control. So we can say, okay, here is my object of meditation of mindfulness is I have the choice. If I am able to control my emotion, then I can experience easily enlightened moments. So if that is the object of your mindfulness, then in a form of meditation or in form of mindfulness, we need to remember that object. And sometimes we just hold that object. We just keep remember that I have choice. I have choice over emotion. I don't let my emotion control me. And whenever we forget that object, we need to come back it again, hold it, and then continue until we are perfectly holding it without any difficulty, just like Ben mentioned, then we're doing something effortlessly without wondering what time it is or forgetting about time and the disturbance around, the noise around. So when we can master one of the reminder, which is practice during our formal mindfulness session or meditation session, then we can practice in our daily activity. For instance, when we can bring that mindfulness into work, like just hear somebody share that at work, if you happen to remember through your practice that we have the ability to control our emotion. We don't let our stress control us, but instead we can react to it creatively, proactively. Then it means that we are practicing informal mindfulness, informal meditation through our work. So whenever we are stressed at work, it's fine because we don't let them control us. And another step further is that we can turn it into our advantage, because remember, stress is useful and beneficial in the sense that it helps us to be motivated and to help us to improve ourselves better so that we can achieve more. So it means stress is useful when we are able to control and turning them into our advantage. So if we remember that, then we are practicing informal, both formal and informal meditation and mindfulness. So it works very well in our life. So that's why I feel that this topic and the way Tan put things down is very clear step for us to follow. And if we put those steps into a practice and practice it with a clear clarity and deep understanding and appreciation, we will reach a lot of good results in our daily life. It's not just concept or idea. We are talking about practice. We are talking about useful practice we can put in our daily life in terms of for enlightened moments, in terms of formal mindfulness, and in terms of informal mindfulness into our daily life, so we can reap the best results for ourselves and we can exercise a positive impact on other people. That is how we make ourselves and others happy, and we can spread happiness, and that's how we can make the happiness a revolution possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Great reminder on formal mindfulness and informal mindfulness. And we will have plenty more opportunity to discuss this wonderful topic, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. I am trying to keep this you know discussion in 90 minutes, and of course, there's no way that we can discuss all of this in 90 minutes. But I'm so glad that we have an opportunity to share. And your story, your perspective are very inspiring. And we will have plenty more opportunity in the future to circle back to this teaching. And thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you next time. And I appreciate and Elle sharing her experience here as well, the importance of being the observer. I notice it, and we can discuss that more next time. And we will go out with the song. Once again, we appreciate you, and have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time, right?